Welcome, everyone, as you're joining. We're so glad to have you here. We'll start in just a few minutes, and as we wait for everyone to join, please take a look at these words from our students. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here. It's wonderful to have so many stakeholders with us tonight. We have students, alumni, coaches, staff members, board members, donors, and partners. I'm Lena Eberhardt, CEO of Let's Get Ready, and this is our fifth annual State of the Organization presentation. Um, we're really excited to have this opportunity to share with you the successes of Let's Get Ready students and also the strides we're making as an organization as we become a leader in the college access and success field. On the next slide, you'll see the agenda for this evening. It includes updates on this past year, understanding the issue at hand and the problem we're trying to solve, sharing our vision for the road ahead, and highlighting some incredible milestones regarding our growth and developing strategy. And you'll hear from lots of voices throughout this agenda to give you the full picture of our community. One note of housekeeping, we'll have time for a Q&A towards the end of the presentation. So if you have questions throughout, feel free to jump into the chat and our chat room moderator will collect them and we'll have time to answer them later. On the next slide, you'll see, I can't imagine that anybody could see that in 1998, when Let's Get Ready was founded, that we would now grow to have served over really 60,000 students in Let's Get Ready's history. we're confident that Let's Get Ready really is the biggest student-to-student coaching network in the country. And our North Star remains a future where all students can reach their most aspirational post-secondary goals and really enter adulthood with abundant confidence, abundant choice, and abundant opportunity. On the next slide, you'll see we wanted to give some context. So why are we so focused on college as really a critical lever for social change? There's three areas of statistics here that are really critical. One is that 40 million adults in the US have attended some college, but have not obtained a degree or another credential. The second is that a recent report from Georgetown University found that 85% of good jobs in the US in the near future will require post-secondary education. And lastly, we know that access to college and success in college is not equitably distributed across students in our country. And so income, among many other factors, is really predictive of success in college. So we know that with these three things together, making sure that there's equitable access to college, making sure that folks who enter college have the support they need to successfully complete their goals related to post-secondary education, and knowing that those folks entering the workforce with this type of readiness is really critical for equitable social transformation in many key ways. And given that many on this call have been involved for many, many years, even decades for some, and some are brand new to Let's Get Ready, we wanted to take a moment just to describe what we do and how we do it. So Let's Get Ready is a virtual near-peer mentorship program. We support students through all phases of their college journey, from 11th grade to college graduation. While many things have changed about the world, about Let's Get Ready, about our approach since our founding in 1998, one thing has really remained the same. We're focused on near peers as the power and the driver of our model. Our near peers are currently enrolled college students who we hire, we train, and we provide tremendous resources to ensure that they can become really impactful coaches to their younger peers. You'll see here that we're eager adopters, but skeptical vetters of all new technologies and tools to augment our work. AI-enabled technologies and other forms of automation support our ability to listen at scale, to customize interventions, and to learn quickly. But they are really there behind the scenes so that all students' experience is a really seamless, human-centered, relationship-centered experience with their coach. Our efficient and nimble model and ethos of inclusivity means that we can serve any student anywhere, including in often overlooked parts of the country and in communities that are more difficult to support. And lastly, we know that every student is of a place, and understanding and responding to the needs dictated by that place is really critical. But we're also able, because of our model, to bring national resources to all students, ensuring that their pathway is not constrained by the place that they're from. So given that introduction to our approach, I'd love to now pass it over to Grace Bianchardi, our Chief Program Officer, who's going to share a little bit about what we're learning about our impact.
Awesome. Thanks, Lena. So Lena brought us back to the founding of Let's Get Ready in 1998 and the dramatic changes since then. But I think for most of us living through the past few years, it's felt like change is on warp speed in the higher education ecosystem, in the world of college access and success, and in the education world broadly. Our work as a program this last year has been set against that backdrop of change. Things like the lingering disruptions caused by the pandemic around student learning, around student mental health, the end of race-conscious admissions programs at colleges and universities across the country, the ever-changing landscape of college admissions testing. The list goes on, right? Change is all around us. And during this rapid period of change in this ecosystem, our program has experienced changes as well. Next slide, please. Our program this year is on track to serve more than double the number of students each year than we were even just 5 years ago. That's a huge, huge change for our program. Additionally, we're nearly tripling the number of students coming from two-year colleges where their chances of college completion success are lower than students at four-year institutions. So we're growing to serve more students, and we're growing to serve more students who are facing more complex set of barriers. And we're working to evolve and stay responsive to that change. Next slide, please. While this has been a time of evolution and growth for our program and for college access and success generally, what hasn't changed at Let's Get Ready is what Lena started to talk about, the continuity of that near peer model. This really simple idea that if by pairing a young person who's facing the uncertainty and the overwhelm of the college process, pairing them with a trained, empathetic coach who's just a little bit ahead of them on the college path, that's going to have transformative impact on both of them. And this unchanging core of our model, it works for all of the students that I was describing, the students who are coming from those most distressed systems, those students who are coming from better resource systems, for students who are with us for a short time, they join us their junior year of college, or for students who've been with us since the beginning, since their junior year of high school. It's working for students who talk to their coach every day, and it's working for students who just listen, receive their coach's outreach, and they respond every once in a while with a quick question when they need it. And that transformative potential of that relationship has been at the core kind of regardless and stays at the core. Next slide, please. So during this time of growth, one of the things that's really exciting and that we've learned is that even as we've moved to serve more students and more students who face significant barriers, those important college outcomes for all of those different students I described, they've stayed something we're really proud of, right? Being able to say that our students across this Let's Get Ready spectrum of services earn a degree at double the rate of their peers is impressive and exciting. And we're going to continue to hold ourselves really accountable for consistency in these big and exciting college outcomes numbers around enrollment, persistence, graduation. Those remain at the core of kind of how we think about our impact. But as we continue to mature, as we continue to grow our enrollment, as we continue to respond to the increasingly strained higher ed landscape and the unknowns ahead of us, as we continue to work to serve the students who are furthest from opportunity, not only are our interventions going to need to get richer and more robust, but our understanding of our impact is also going to need to be richer and more robust. So as we look ahead, at the next State of the Union, you're going to see us kind of increasingly as a program looking at additional ways to measure that impact, additional ways to understand the needs and experiences of our students. And we're going to be really eager to keep sharing that evolving understanding of impact with this community. So thank you. And I'm going to pass it to Jordan Wesley, Let's Get Ready's Chief Partnerships Officer, and she's going to share more details on our national expansion and that growth that I was talking about.
Great. Thank you so much, Grace, and welcome everyone. It's great to be here with you this evening. As we've been talking about, local partnership has been central to Let's Get Ready's mission since the very beginning, and we really remain committed to deep relationship building in every place where we're working. We're currently partnering directly with other educational institutions in 8 states where we have really deep integrated relationships. That includes New York, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Wyoming, California, Massachusetts, Maine, and Connecticut. Our portfolio of 32 program partners and over 2,000 referral network members are really leaning on the LGR program model to ensure that students in their communities have access to the transformative power of near-peer coaching in a really diverse range of communities. Our longest partnership is 16 years old, and fostering the kind of trust and responsiveness that's required for that kind of collaboration really remains central to our partnership strategy, even as we continue growing. So for those who are new to Let's Get Ready, just to recap about who those partnerships are. Those partnerships include institutions across the sector, including colleges and universities, high schools and school districts, and other community-based organizations. These partners really range in size and demographics and location and educational context. And even across all of that breadth of context, I can really tell you from my own experience of meeting with partners, hearing about the things happening where they are, they all share one really important thing in common. They share a deep commitment to the success and aspiration of the students that we support together. This year, we're really particularly excited about the scalability of large-scale system partnerships that are happening with some of our newest partners. Building on over a decade of partnership in Maine and our very first system partnership with the University of Maine system, we launched a second partnership this fall with Connecticut State Colleges and Universities. These kinds of large-scale partnerships continue to validate the scalability of our model and the way that our program can reach students all across educational systems and institutions across the country. We're serving over 10,000 students in Maine this academic year, and by 2027, we're going to be serving over 10,000 students in Connecticut through these partnerships. So it's a really exciting moment as we continue to grow, and we continue to grow through mission-aligned, collaborative, and deep partnership with incredible educators all across the country. It's an honor for me to be able to do that work. And I'm excited at this point to pass it over to our panelists who are going to dig in a little bit more about what that work is that's happening. I'm going to pass it over to Audrey Balan, who is an Associates Council member and a Let's Get Ready alum, who's going to lead our panel discussion today.
Thank you. All right. Hello, everybody. My name's Audrey. As Jordan said, I am a proud LGR alum and currently a member of the Associates Council. And tonight I will be the moderator for an amazing panel titled Students Are the Solution. I'm joined by three amazing panelists, Amy Castanos, an LGR alum and coach who will earn her master's degree next month, Dennis Maurice Dumpson, LGR's Chief External Affairs Officer, and Jeannie Rosenthal, LGR's first coach and founder and a member of the board of directors. Welcome to all of you, and let's jump right in. All right, Jeannie, let's start with you. When Let's Get Ready started, what gave you the confidence to believe that you, a student at the time, were the best person to advise and mentor your peers? And in retrospect, how important was it that a student initiated this work?
Well, thank you, Audrey. It's really exciting to have you and Amy here as alums of the program who are still so involved. I mean, as a college student, I was 19 years old when I started Let's Get Ready in a church basement in Mount Vernon, New York. And I knew that, not only would I have not gotten into college without all the support that I was given, that a lot of kids don't have college educated parents and an excellent school system and private SAT prep. But my friends and I knew how to go through this process better than anybody in the country. And we put, hundreds of hours worth of work into figuring out how to apply to college and for financial aid. And now that was kind of useless information for us, but could be so useful to other kids. And soon into the organization, the College Board, which owns the SAT and is the National Association of Colleges and Universities, recognized both the power of those relationships, with which Audrey and Amy can speak to better than I at this point, now that I'm an old woman, relatively, but realize that there are millions of college students across the country and millions of younger students who need their expertise and their empathy. And I want to say, too, that I'm so excited to be part of Let's Get Ready, particularly at this moment in history when I think we're poised to have major cuts to education funding, major cuts to the kinds of support services, institutional support services that students like ours have relied on, and that make Let's Get Ready so unfortunately necessary, as well as major cuts probably to things like financial aid and Pell Grants and lots of changes to eligibility. So students are going to need more guidance and more support than ever. And so I'm doubling down on my involvement in Let's Get Ready. And I hope others too recognize the urgency of what we're doing, particularly at this moment in history.
Thank you so much for that response. Honestly, it's inspiring to hear how, student-led initiatives can create such a lasting impact. And it's honestly amazing to see how your vision has grown into a nationwide movement. And like you said, it's very important at this time in our nation's history for further support for this type of work. So thank you. All right, let's go ahead and go to Amy. You have been a part of Let's Get Ready since you were in high school, through college, and as a coach. As you prepare to graduate from one of the nation's top schools of social work, how has LGR supported your growth from student to scholar to now professional?
Yes, thank you. So as a student, I began with their SAT prep. As you said, I've done basically all of their programs with Let's Get Ready. So we have a very long rapport with one another. Let's Get Ready has provided me with the tools and guidance I needed to navigate the college application process, instilling confidence and clarity during a time where it's confusing and challenging because you're dealing with so many new transitions in your life. So when I transitioned to college, Let's Get Ready support didn't stop. I remember having my coach and feeling so excited because this was a new experience for me, and having someone I can turn to was amazing. Now, as a coach, I've had the chance to give back by supporting students who, like me, are navigating their own paths. And this role allowed me to improve my leadership and mentorship skills as well, preparing me for, social work, what I plan on doing. And Let's Get Ready showed me the power of community and the importance of creating equitable opportunities for others. It was also a full circle moment for me because being as I've done every program with Let's Get Ready and just knowing how it feels to be on the other side of things as well, it really shed a light and served as a reminder that I was truly meant for this. I love this. I really enjoy being a coach. And overall, Let's Get Ready has been more than a program. They've really been a constant source of encouragement, inspiration, and growth for me, shaping me into the person I am today. And I carry everything with me, and, in the new journeys that I take in my life, they definitely have showed me that anything is possible. So whether it's near peer coaching, my program manager is pushing me to accomplish goals, or the various opportunities that Let's Get Ready has extended to me, they impacted me to always strive for greatness and that nothing is impossible.
That's right. Nothing is impossible. Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. Honestly, your story highlights the importance of continuous mentorship and support. And what I'm just so proud of for you is the fact that you're here giving back in, small ways. And, the impact of LGR in my life as well is, why I'm still here. So I love that we're both here together. So thank you for your story. All right. Now I'd love to introduce Dennis. So Dennis, Let's Get Ready is part of a powerful ecosystem of students, families, partners, schools, communities, and a program team. But students are predominantly interacting with their coaches. How does that ecosystem that is often unseen support LGR students and coaches?
Thanks so much, Audrey. And I just want to follow up and say, I'm so glad to be here with you, Audrey, and also with you, Amy, especially just thinking about the growth and the continuum that you both kind of represent, having grown through the program in a way, it's inspiring for me to be able to see. So glad to be here with all of you, as well as our first coach ever, Jeannie. I will say that, I think the ecosystem is something that's important to kind of recognize, but the way I frame it is I live in an apartment building and we don't have anybody that can collect packages, anything. We have to depend on everybody else. So even though we're in this alone, I pay my own bills, I do my own thing. Sometimes I have to build relationships with the people that are in my building so that if something happens, if a package comes, if something comes and I'm not there, they can be able to support me. And I think what Let's Get Ready is doing through this ecosystem is we're ensuring that people know that we do have to do this together. It's not a by chance. It is actually a responsibility that we're doing this and we're working with each other collectively. So when we think about the amount of work that goes into this, we can see our program team who's working on everything. They're analyzing everything from conversational data to thematic responses to new insights that we're gaining about what's happening on the ground in particular colleges and particular regions. And that's particularly important because as we engage with our partners, what we're able to offer to them is that we're able to say, look, we're learning new things about your students. We're learning new things that are happening in your school that sometimes those partners may not even know. So it's this ability to kind of weave this opportunity to be able to be a part of a helpful network. And we recognize that going to college, being able to be successful, making all of our transitions in life, similar to what Amy said, you can't do this alone. You know what I mean? You need to be able to have support to be able to make those things happen. And it's because of our like rich program team, the way that are developing everything from content to text messages to curriculum to training programs to learning management systems, as well as managing program team members to resourcing data, thinking about evaluation and what Grace mentioned earlier, really refining the way that we define our impact, aligned with us being able to provide all that insight and data to our partners, aligned with being able to make sure that students have the benefit of that as they're engaging with their coach or engaging with any of the powerful technology we use to be able to produce this. So that ecosystem, those things that we do see and those things that we don't see, all work together for Let's Get Ready to be able to produce something that really not only empowers the opportunity to go through and to and through college, but it also empowers the students that we work with to be able to make decisions for themselves that are, powerful just as well too.
Thank you so much. I do have like a follow-up question. It's kind of like two, you can answer one or both. I guess like what are maybe some of like the key challenges in maintaining this ecosystem that you've talked about and how maybe LGR is hoping to address them? And then also, how do you envision maybe the ecosystem evolving in the next, few years to better support, the LGR students?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I don't necessarily know if these are challenges, but I do think that as we think about like a national perspective, and particularly to what Jeannie framed earlier, the environment that we're in nationally is ever changing, and we, in some ways don't know what to expect. And I think to some extent, we have to hold on to Let's Get Ready's values, which are to be responsive to the needs of our students, to make sure that those things are always at the center without not always being reactive. And that's a difference that I think we're talking about in the organization right now is how are we going to be responsive to the needs? How are we going to be responsive to the changes that are happening in education, societally, culturally? All those things matter to our students. And how do we do that with a position of making sure that students' needs are at the center? And if that's the position that we're taking, our real work is just always to figure out how to be as responsive as possible, not to necessarily be reactive. Now, the challenges in that is that there are things that we will need to react to as well, you know what I mean, at that time, but being able to balance those things in a world that we live in today that's fraught with all types of challenges, it's something that I think we have to be able to navigate. And Audrey, if you could reframe your second part of your question too, so I can respond.
Oh, yeah. The second part was how do you envision the ecosystem evolving or, your vision, for how it will look like in the next few years to better support, students, LGR students as well.
Well, I wish I could have my partner in good up here too, Jordan, to talk about this as well, because I know a big portion of like the future of this growth will be expanding. A lot of our work is thinking about national expansion, as you can see through the work we're doing with Connecticut and with Maine. A big portion of this work is driven by systems change. So we're thinking what's happening systemically and letting that grow to being able to support students on the ground. So I think that's a big part of the growth, as Jeannie mentioned earlier. This started in a church basement when she was 19 years old, 26 years ago. And now today we're in a position where where students are in 48 states. We have partners in 8 states across the country. And that level of saturation is something that it's big, but it also means that we have to be able to think high level systemically and also be able to whittle that down to be able to meet the direct needs of our students across the country too. So I think a part of the growth will be expanding nationally, thinking systemically to answer some of these big, enduring questions that we have, but never forgetting about like students being at the center and their needs.
I love that. Thank you, Dennis. Really keeping the students at the center. That's the theme that I got. So thank you so much. So thank you. Here's my final question to all the panelists. So students are the solution is the title of this panel. And when I think about it, that is a compelling statement. Let's Get Ready has embraced student leadership since its founding. And I would love to know what comes to mind when you hear this statement, students are the solution.
Well, for me, the relationships I'll let others speak to, but the thing that excites me so much about it is the scalability of it. This is a huge labor force of expertise, college student mentors. And again, I think it's a moment where that kind of breadth and ability to scale hugely is going to be very important. When I was in a church basement in 1998, tutoring a group of 5 kids, I knew how powerful the relationship was, but had no idea how it was going to scale. And the brilliance of Lena and Dennis and the team that is there now was unlocking that logistical challenge so that college students and high school students and college students and younger students could, like, just the barrier was gone. And I was initially skeptical about how a virtual program would work. Would this actually be a high quality interaction? Again, I show my age, my skepticism of virtual interactions, but the numbers are there. Like, the program is as effective as when I was sitting at that table directly talking to 5 kids. And part of that is now that a college student or a high school student who has a mentor has them in their pocket 24/7 to ask questions. And that's ridiculous and amazing. And again, in this moment where I think we're going to need to be, sorry to sound alarmist, but like patching major holes in the boat of access to opportunity in America, that ability to scale very quickly is going to be essential.
So I think about the potential that students or even young people in general have to drive change, inspire others, and also shape the future. Students are the ones on the ground. They're the ones seeing it. They're the ones directly affected by it. They're the ones witnessing everything. So they are really the ones who truly know best and will provide us with the feedback needed to improve. I've attended various events that when students are centered and at the forefront, incredible work is done. So this only further proves the idea that when students, bring unique perspectives, their resilience, their creativity to solving challenges, that you see incredible results, and it's about trusting their ability to lead, their willingness to step up, and that they're more than capable to really achieve anything to reach others and inspire. And so through initiatives like near peer coaching and mentorship, Let's Get Ready also proves that when students are empowered and, given the tools that they need, the accessibility, that they can address barriers and create lasting change, not only for themselves, but for others too.
This is wonderful. I think I have the privilege of being here with 3 Let's Get Ready students that have now transitioned through the full continuum, right? Well, Coach Jeannie in that sense or whatever, but that is the solution, right? Like, you can start out as a student and be able to build things. You can build national organizations that are able to support people across the country. You can go from being a coach and a student to be working on Wall Street at one of the biggest banks that we know. You can go from working as a student, as a coach, to being able to graduate from one of the top schools of social work in the country. You could do all of that, and we see that through the 3 of you to be able to do that. So when we think about students being the solution, it's about the energy and the momentum that comes out of both individual impact, but what that does to the collective for us to be able to be inspired. And just to dovetail off of something Jeannie mentioned about the times that we're in, I think we have to be able to look for uncommon accomplices, uncommon allies, and uncommon actors that are able to push us forward. And unfortunately, across the country, a lot of people see students as the support solely, like those that need to be supported. And what Let's Get Ready has been doing since Jeannie's founding is positioning students as not only the solution, but the leaders in some ways in this. And surely they're scaffolded by dynamic program and program management and the program team and everything. But the solution that they're providing is being able to bring the best of themselves in enduring times. The times are always ebbing and flowing. They're always, something is always happening. You know what I mean? And will continue to be that way. And students still exist, and they still exist powerfully. So I think that that's what that means for me. And I think we can see it through the three of you, but we can also see it through this network of now over 60,000 students that have come through Let's Get Ready as well.
Could I just add to what Dennis was saying, a personal anecdote about students becoming change makers? I reached out a year or two ago, I guess it was longer than that now, to one of our first students named Malika Forbes. And I sent her an email and I said, hey, I don't know if you'd remember me or this program, Let's Get Ready, that you were in when you were in high school. But, hi. And she wrote back, do I remember you? I think of Let's Get Ready every single day of my life. When I was in high school, I didn't even realize that I was underprivileged. I didn't realize the kinds of support that other kids were getting that I was not getting. So when I went to college, I majored in education and math. I went to Teach for America and I became a math teacher. I just graduated from law school, where I focused on civil rights and education. And now I'm working at a law firm on civil rights, and I'm working under a partner, an African American woman partner who's argued cases before the Connecticut Supreme Court on civil rights and education. And today, Malika is the general counsel of one of the largest charter school networks in New York City.
That is incredible. That is amazing. Like, it's so powerful to hear these stories. Honestly, I'm so glad, she remembered. Like, the impact of LGR is something that people hold on to. And I love that. So thank you for sharing that story. It's clear that empowering students can lead to transformative change. Hearing your perspectives really reinforces the idea that students truly are not just the ones that need support, but the solution. So thank you. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Jeannie, and thank you, Anna. I am going to, I could talk about this all evening, but now I'm going to turn it over to Lena to share more about LGR's strategic priorities.
Hi again, everyone. Thank you so much, Audrey and Jeannie and Dennis and Amy, for such an incredible conversation. We are going to move on to and conclude our evening. We have a few thoughts on where we are and where we're headed. So if you look on the next slide, you can see that we are meeting. You may remember last time we all met in the State of the Org format, we were coming to the end of our existing strategic plan. And this was a plan that we put together several years ago. And we are looking this year to meet the growth goal that we had to serve 25,000 students annually in 2025. And there's no doubt we're going to meet and very much exceed that goal. We're looking to serve more than 30,000 students this year. And we've really deepened and invested in a lot of areas of operations, finance and financial sustainability, HR, compliance and risk, and data collection, along with all the programmatic growth and programmatic iterations that we've embarked on. And one thing that's been critically important, not just to me, but I know to the full team and to many of our community members, is while we're going big, while we're growing, while we're serving more students, we're also going deeper. We're also really deepening our commitment to our values, to responsiveness, to the rigor of our data and evaluation agenda, to the ways we think about innovation and new technology, and the ways we really are, as you've been hearing, sort of deeply committed to being flexible and nimble enough to adapt to the ecosystem in which we operate. We've seen that over the last few years with the sort of going deep and going broad, there's a tremendous amount of momentum and potential at the moment. There's so much untapped need in the country around these services. There's many partners who are eager to work with us to support their students. There's many partners across the sector who are interested in our unique approach. And so there really is this feeling of tremendous momentum and potential at the moment. And as with any ambitious plan, and especially an ambitious growth plan, there's natural risk and there's natural uncertainty. And so, we're taking that really seriously as an organization, making sure we're taking time to reflect, to really rigorously evaluate our strategy, our impact, our value proposition, and really name what we need to build, name the places we need to invest, and be clear about the resources that we really need to do this well. So given that sort of moment of risk and reflection, we are putting forth a two-phased journey over the next period for Let's Get Ready. So in phase one, and this is 2025, 2026, and 2027, we are growing, just given the commitments we've already made, given new opportunities that we've come our way. And a lot of that is what Jordan spoke to. We are growing, and it's very likely that in the next 3 years during this phase one period, we'll be serving 3 times as many students as we're serving now annually by 2027. So that itself is our priority, making sure that we're serving all of those students and all of those partners with the highest level of quality and the highest level of impact, with a particular eye towards that rigorous analysis of our impact that we discussed, and thinking about this systemic approach related to our partners and to statewide interventions that you heard some about as well. In phase one, this will require a lot of revenue generation. We need to make sure that the organization has the resources, not just in the moment, but in a long-term sustainable way to do this work and to do it at the level we're committed to doing it at. So that requires lots of fundraising, lots of new partnerships and new friends and champions, and also a lot of investment in our infrastructure to make sure this can happen. And one thing that the executive team and the board is really committed to is identifying what are the things during phase one that we really need to understand, measure, look at, reflect on, to know that we're ready for phase two. And we really understand the potential and the aspiration that we want to name and pursue in phase two. So you can see here, phase two, we're calling it transform and influence. There's a lot of work to do to understand really the nuts and bolts of phase two, but what we know it will entail is serving more students with a larger impact and genuinely a true transformation of our footprint and approach, and really boldly pursue the type of real growth and impact that we know is possible. And with that type of growth and with that, the size of that footprint comes a responsibility. We have a lot of information and insight into the types of challenges, barriers, constraints, and opportunity that students have as they're embarking on their post-secondary journey. And so we want to really leverage all that insight to, advocate on behalf of students across the country, to influence the sector and systems where it makes sense, and really contribute to learning across the sector around, what students need to be successful, but again, really about this power of student leadership and power of student mentorship. So in conclusion, we wanted to offer you these final takeaways. I think you've heard throughout the evening, LGR is really committed to learning, to evolving, to respond to student needs, to our climate. We're growing in a big way over the next 3 years. And that's going to require lots of resources, lots of support, and lots of, lots of thoughtfulness and leverage of our network. Our program is, I think, as you heard, sort of deeply student-centered, and you can expect continuity in that, sort of regardless of what's happening. That's really what we're about. And we really are uniquely positioned to grow and scale. And I think really the note I want to end on was the title of that panel. Students are the solution. We believe that deeply. And we're so excited and thankful for this large community and diverse community who is helping us ensure that we can bring that solution to as many students and communities across the country as possible. So thank you all for your support, for being here tonight. We'll follow up with ways you can help Let's Get Ready with meet our goals. But truly, just thank you for being here and thank you for your support.
Lena, we do have 2 questions that we have to ask too or whatever, so we'll just answer those as well too before we leave.
Okay, great. Good.
Turn it over to Danielle to share them.
Yeah, I've been moderating the chat room and we have one question. Someone asked, how many coaches does Let's Get Ready need to be able to reach students across the country in 48 states?
I would point that question to Grace.
Yeah. Given our program model and some of the technology and infrastructure that we've built, we are able to pair every single Let's Get Ready student with their own near peer coach in ways that are really efficient from a caseload standpoint. So some of our students have a coach, and that coach only has 30 students, right? And they're only working with those students because those are really, really chatty students. And some coaches can work with a much bigger caseload because they're working with students who, need more periodic support, not quite as much hands-on support. And so over the course of a typical year like this year, we need less than 100 students, less than 100 coaches to serve that 25, 26, 27,000, maybe 30,000 if we reach our goal students. And that number will need to continue to grow as we serve more and more students. And that's a really important part. Lena sort of talked about the path ahead and some of the things that we'll need to do and the infrastructure we'll need to build. But one of the key pieces of infrastructure we'll have to build is a system for being able to continue to source and hire and train and support really a workforce of college student coaches as we sort of think about that transformative growth.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so our last but not least question is, I see what you, sorry, excuse me. How can I get the Let's Get Ready program in my city?
I would push that question to Jordan because I think the short answer is talk to Jordan.
Yes, that's it. Email me at partnership@letsgetready.org. I would love to have a conversation about how to bring Let's Get Ready to your city.
All right, thank you very much. Pass it back to
Okay.
Dennis.
I think on that note, we will thank you all and end the evening there. But truly, reach out to any of us anytime with any questions or to learn more about a strategic plan, our program, our impact, etc. We're here and ready to chat. And again, thank you all so much for joining and for your support.
Thank you, guys.